Wednesday. Thank you so much for tagging along, and guess what? Patrick Mahomes' ankle, according to QB1 himself, doing good. He even says it's comparable to the 2019 ankle that he played through. Says the 2020 toe injury he played through was the worst injury he has played through. We will hear from Patrick Mahomes as he's kind of finishing up. Coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, we are going to hear from Andy Reid, who said that Mahomes will practice today and might do everything, and he's ready to go. That is one Patrick LeVon Mahomes. That is the update. We got a lot to get to on this Wednesday edition. Jake LeVon Fulton Caster with you. We are going to talk little Chiefs offense versus the greatest defense that has ever played, according to leading up to this game. I don't know if you know this, but the Bengals defense is the best defense probably ever. That is now what I have come to realize. We're going to talk with Will Carroll. He is an injury guru, if you will. Done it his entire life, sports writer as well. We will talk with Will Carroll coming up at the bottom of the hour. He's got a new book out as well involving injuries in football. We will get to Will. We'll hear from Andy Reid, hear from Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk a little hoops with Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. K-State taking on the Iowa State Cyclones in what turned out to be a scoring fest, just like we all thought. The best defense in the league gave up a bunch of points to Kansas State, so we'll discuss that. We got a lot to get to. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts on this Wednesday. Ankle, good to go. I looked up some film from 2019 in that Jags game. What I saw in the Jags game in 2019 is not even anything like the game that I saw on Saturday. In 2019, he got back into the game, and you could tell he was limping, but it wasn't what it was on Saturday, where he couldn't even take 3 steps and hand the ball off to Jerick McKinnon or Isaiah Pacheco on a stretch play. They're not the same. Not even remotely the same. The ankle is not the same also because it's a different ankle. That's what I'm going to be excited to talk to with Will Carroll is, and I even reached out to my old quarterback. I go, ankle injury, and he's got like 90-year-old ankles. I mean, he will roll his ankle walking down the street. That's how bad his ankles are. I asked him, I go, plant foot versus stride foot. How much different? He goes, who cares about stride foot? No one cares about stride foot.
And I mean, that's fair. That's going to be a big thing, and it's going to be fun to kind of get some different thoughts on it.
And
because, that is what's different.
His foot is the plant foot. It's his back foot.
Yeah, that back leg.
Different.
It's weird. It's not the same thing, but the more experience I have discussing these things is in a baseball term, but it's like your back leg being hurt. You know, Victor Martinez is actually a semi-good example here. When he was playing in his mid-30s and had his good year, and the next year he was awful, the big question was, because he batted switch, there's one side of the plate. When he batted right-handed, he had way less power because his bad knee was his right knee. So when that becomes your back leg, you can't drive with it.
No.
And that's in all sports and all things. If your legs are needed to drive, your back leg is the driver. It's the plant. It's where the power comes from. It's where all the rotation stems from. So that is the number one thing with Mahomes going to be coming up on Sunday will just be, can he put the same, oomph on the ball? Because he doesn't have a leg to drive off of.
Patrick Mahomes said Saturday after the game in the post-game press conference that his ankle felt better than he thought it would. Today, Mahomes says his ankle is feeling better than he thought it would today on Wednesday. So that's 2 different times his ankle feels better than what he thought it would be. And when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and his ankle, how does that affect the Chiefs' offense? Because all I'm hearing, though, is that this Lou Anarumo's defense is the greatest thing ever. He's so damn good. He's amazing. He's awesome. And everybody stinks. Now, I'm being a little little hyperbole right now.
A little hyperbolic.
But if you do look at the numbers in the playoffs, it is a little bit true. This is from Pro Football Focus. All right. And it says here what the offense's regular season was versus when they played the Bengals in the playoffs. And it's got all the games. Not one game did the Bengals defense play worse in the playoffs. Every one of them. Against the Raiders in 2021. Against the Titans. They were actually negative in the Titan game. The Chiefs last year in 2021. The Bengals defense played better. Same thing with the Rams in the Super Bowl. The Rams in the Super Bowl won the game not because of their offense. They won the game because of Cooper Damn Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr. And then OBJ. I personally believe if OBJ doesn't tear his ACL, I think the Rams roll in that one. Because they could not stop Cooper Kupp and they could not stop OBJ. And then on the other side, I guess technically 4 players. Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., and then Von Miller and Aaron Donald. They could not stop Von Miller and Aaron Donald. Those 2 guys were absolute monsters on defense. But the defense for the Bengals, even in the game this year, we saw the Ravens. They did next to nothing in the game. I mean, they had a negative EPA per play. The Bills offense had some issues, but the Bills offense did nothing against the Bengals in the postseason. I mean, absolutely nothing. And they got pressure on Josh Allen. A lot of pressure on Josh Allen. This is coming from Benjamin Solak of The Ringer, and he says here, let's look at the quarterback numbers who are the upper echelon against this Bengals defense the last couple of years. And he throws Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and then Aaron Rodgers in 2021. You look at all of those numbers, okay? And the majority of those are Bengal wins, obviously. These are the games when the Bengals have played a good quarterback. The Bengals beat the Chiefs 34-31. They lost to the Packers 25-22. All right. Mahomes lost to the Bengals 27-24. Josh Allen in the divisional round lost 27-10. Justin Herbert won 41-22. Lost Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes lost 27-24. Lamar Jackson lost 2 years ago 41-17. And then Lamar Jackson again lost 19-17. Now, if you notice, Patrick Mahomes has the 2 of the 3 best performances against the Cincinnati Bengal defense. These are all in order of performance. So it went Mahomes in 2021, just this season. Then Rodgers this year, 25-22. The Bengals lost. Then you got Mahomes. They lost 27-24 in the title game. That was in 22. So 2 of the 3 best performances of a good quarterback have been by Patrick Mahomes, and they lost by 3 and by 3. But if you average all of these out, and I honestly think you need to throw Lamar out the window, because Lamar is not like Mahomes, Herbert, Allen, and Rodgers. Do you agree with that statement?
In a way, yes, but EPA is not just about throwing the football. Like, this is not pure passing EPA.
I understand that.
Like, I get your point. I get your point that they quarterback in an entirely different way than Lamar.
And so I would not.
His value, I think, can still be put in a similar way.
See, I don't, because it's so different. It's so much different. So, and are you surprised that Lamar is dead last in both of these when the Bengals have faced good quarterbacks? It goes Mahomes, Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Jackson. I'm not surprised there. I'm not. But if you add in Lamar Jackson and you combine all of those games, you essentially get this year's Mac Jones. All of those games combined that these good quarterbacks have played, this Bengal defense, the last 2 years, the quarterback ends up playing like Mac Jones. Now, I think there is a little bit of, moving when it comes to stats, because you can make stats look really good in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted to point out that Mahomes has 2 of the 3 best performances against this defense in the last 2 years, if you're going up against these type of quarterbacks. And the second best performance was Rodgers this season on October the 10th when they won 25-22. So there's a little bit of manipulating. Oh, well, the Bengal defense makes all these quarterbacks look like Mac Jones. Well, Mac Jones this year had an EPA dropback of negative 0.03. Okay? Don't worry about the number. Just know it's Mac Jones. Whereas Patrick Mahomes, if you average it out between his performance in the title game and this last year against the Bengals on January 2nd, his average is around 0.2. That's a big time difference than negative 0.03. So I want to make some of these numbers a little bit more clear than, oh, yeah, well, basically this team is so good that we face Mac Jones in the playoffs. If you add in all of those guys, yes, but the 2 most recent Mahomes games, he's actually done a pretty decent job against this defense that is playing very, very well. That's why I wonder how much. Right now, the Chiefs are still a 1.5-point dog. It got up to 2.5 yesterday. Now back down to 1.5. Be interesting to see what happens here. But according to good friend of the show, Jesse Newell, Jesse says that if Mahomes were healthy, Chiefs would be a favorite, and they'd be a favorite by 3 points. They're thinking that ankle is that big a deal. So the question for me is, Mahomes has actually done pretty decent against this Bengal team the last 2 times, especially if you look at who else they've faced. How much of it is that ankle? Because Josh Allen was terrible in the game against the Bengals. He was a negative, according to EPA. Whereas Mahomes is a 0.20 against this Bengal defense the last 2 times. So there's a big difference. But that's healthy Mahomes, not high ankle sprain Mahomes.
Yeah, it's important to think about what Mahomes' ankle is going to do, because it's going to limit a lot of things he can do. Because what we always talk about, what makes Mahomes so special is his ability to work out of the pocket and out of structure and just do those pull a rabbit out of his hat plays. Those don't exist when you can't move. And he's not going to be able to move that well at all. So that's going to be the number one question. And the biggest thing to pull out when it comes to this Bengals defense is they do a great job of mixing things up. They do a tremendous job of that. And Lou Anarumo is the best mid-game adjuster among defensive coordinators in football. he is more than willing to completely. I mean, look what he did against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year. He scrapped an entire game plan at halftime. He was getting torched. His plan in that first half, he was getting torched.
Correct.
Most did for 3 touchdown passes. Chiefs led by 18 points.
Should have led by 21.
Should have led by a lot more. Like, they were cooking. And all Lou Anarumo did was like, all right, let's do something completely different. And it turned into the worst 30-minute stretch of football in Patrick Mahomes' career.
Do you think maybe this ankle injury forces the Chiefs to do something that the Bengals are not ready for?
So I've been wondering that, and I honestly do not know. Because the Bengals, I think, understand what the Chiefs might do with the ankle. I think the Bengals understand the Chiefs might run the ball more. They might do more shotgun things, so Mahomes doesn't have to extend on those under center dropbacks as much. They might run some bigger personnel to try and mess with some. Like, I think the Bengals actually have not really a good idea, but a decent understanding of what the Chiefs might do, and that I think also the Bengals understand. In addition to, they can change up their game plan for the fact that Mahomes is going to be hobbled. They know they can't just assume it'll be anything similar to what they've seen before. Because they know Andy Reid's more than intelligent enough that he's not going to ask Mahomes to do the exact same stuff.
Whoa. Great idea here. What if they come... The Chiefs should have 2 completely different game plans. First half. Come out, run the ball, oh gosh, my ankle. We're talking rope-a-dope, baby. Then in the second half,
we're talking a rope-a-dope.
They come out and Mahomes is like, oh, my ankle. I can't do anything. You go into halftime, and they're all thinking, okay, this is what we're going to do. They come out in the second half, and Mahomes is like, oh, somebody's ankle's actually all right. And they end up doing a completely different game plan in the second half, full on rope-a-dope.
So have Mahomes pull a Kevin Nash. Okay, I get you. For those of you at home that don't know, there's a famous clip of Kevin Nash with his supposed to be leg in a cast, and he rips off the blanket, and the cast is fake.
Or you could go with the most famous, rope-a-dope.
I'm going to go with the very famous GIF that I think if I showed it to people, most of them would know exactly what I'm talking about.
Dude, nobody knows wrestling.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't. They know Muhammad Ali, rope-a-dope, and George Foreman.
And the true ones out there will know what I mean when I reference Kevin Nash faking the leg injury. Facts.
Ridiculous. Coming up next, we are going to get to a little hoops reaction, then talk with Will Carroll on all things ankle injuries. Andy Reid, maybe Justin Reid, maybe a little Nick Bolton. A lot of Chiefs are speaking today, and the rest of them will speak tomorrow. But we got a little hoops to recap. We'll discuss more of it coming up in the 2 o'clock hour with Kellis Robinett, as we talk with Kellis every single Wednesday in the 2 o'clock hour. K-State lost to Iowa State in a high-scoring affair, just like we all thought that the best defense in the league would get absolutely shredded by K-State. But what happened was that K-State, as we said yesterday, is the worst defense in the league, and they let the worst offense in the league look like one of the best offenses in the league. You can't give up 80 if you want to win a game, especially against a good defensive team. But they had a chance to win at the end. Hilton's a very difficult place to play. I look at it more of as not a, oh gosh, they had opportunities. It's kind of, I don't know how many people are going to go in there and win. They are a good team. Yeah. They are a good defensive team. If anything, you can spin it this way. K-State hung 76? 76 on the best defensive team.
That's the most points Iowa State's allowed in conference play. No, it was a good performance. I'm also just happy to be vindicated that I said I think it'll be close in case State will cover, but I just had a gut feeling that they wouldn't win the game. And there were certain people out there who were mad at me about that.
I wasn't mad at you about that.
Just saying. I was right.
No, not just saying.
I was right.
You were. I was not mad. I thought K-State had a chance to win. I didn't bet on the Cats. I couldn't pull the trigger. And I'm glad I didn't.
If any of you out there bet moneyline on K-State because of what Jake said, please let us know so that way Jake can be properly insulted for it.
Absolutely not. I am not taking any and all. This is your own damn money. You do what you want to do with it. So that is completely false, Fulton. And you will be getting a subpoena from my lawyer, much like Roy McIlroy did, according to Patrick Reid, which I can't get over that. I wish we could talk more about that. We will get to more of Mahomes' ankle coming up with Will Carroll. O'clock hour, we will hear from Patrick Mahomes. We will hear from Andy Reid as they spoke to the media today. So we'll get a little bit more of insight, as well as Juju Smith-Schuster, Nick Bolton, and Justin Reid speaking to the media today. So we will get to that, as well as rookie running back Isaiah Pacheco, who might just have a little bit more of an important role in this game coming up on Sunday. Chiefs fans, before you send me all your angry emails, we are not allowed to air the Chiefs radio network feed, so you will not hear Mitch Holthus here on 580. I get why you're upset. This is the business side of it. The NFL owns the rights, so the only people who can hear Mitch Holthus is the flagship station in Kansas City. We are not allowed to air that. What we will air is the game, the national
Westwood
game.
One broadcast.
Yes. Kevin Harlan and everybody will be a part of. So don't send
we understand your anger.
Yes, don't send me your angry emails.
Don't email us.
Even though you will. Last year I got like 10. I'm sorry. We have no control over that. We will air the broadcast, though.
We understand your anger. We understand why you're upset.
Yes.
We can't fix anything.
Yeah,
we can't change it.
We're the middleman.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Don't get mad at us.
Don't shoot the middleman.
Okay. So
that's our point.
Just to let you know, we will air the game. It will just be the Westwood One feed. But right now, to talk all things ankles, ligaments, flexibility, and all of that is injury expert Will Carroll. He's the injury expert at The Lines, longtime sports writer, author of The Science of Football. Excited about that coming up. You can follow him on Twitter at Injury Expert. We've had him on the show before. Will Carroll joining us. Will, did you ever think an ankle would be this talked about leading into this game?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's not even an ankle. The only reason we call it a high ankle is because nobody likes saying syndesmosis or a syndesmotic sprain. Bill Simmons always says it's good when I say big words, so I try to now and again, but nobody else likes it. But the fact that Patrick Mahomes was able to play as well as he did is twofold. There's two reasons. The first is that he's done it before. And his ligament is just a little bit looser. Probably that's not really a good thing, but in this case, there was just less damage. It moved more without damaging and stretching it on a cellular level. So therefore, there wasn't a response by the body to have the inflammation. Certainly after the x-ray, he didn't have as much inflammation. The word is that he didn't have as much inflammation the next day. So you don't have to work to get it down. So he started from a better base. The other is that he prepares for this. He talks about my book, The Science of Football. Chapter 7 is all about the crazy training regimen that Mahomes and his trainer, Bobby Stroop, have developed. And it's amazing how many of the things I saw where he's running around in a figure eight and dodging people and playing what looks like a kid's game. And then I watch in a game and all of a sudden he spins out from a sure sack and he moved. I'm like, that's the exact same thing. He's done one-legged hopping. He's done drills with one shoe because he's had plays where his shoe got pulled off. They prepare for this. It's crazy to think about. How do you prepare for playing with an injury? But they do. So Mahomes is ahead of a lot of people. He's not the only one that does this kind of thing. He's not the only one in that situation. Sam Ehlinger, the Colts quarterback, was in that same session I saw. But quarterbacks, and specifically Mahomes, because of his kinesthetic sense, his athletic genius, is better prepared to deal with this than almost anyone else.
When it comes to the game coming up on Sunday, and I understand you have not looked at his ankle, and I get all that, but yeah. What's the biggest concern, or what is going to be the biggest of his repertoire and his ability that will be affected? Is it stopping and starting? Is it going left and right? Is it just throwing? What will be affected most because of this, in your estimation?
What we know is that it's any move that comes off the inside of his foot. If you're driving, but if you're at home, just stand up and push off the inside of either foot, and you'll feel, that just above your anatomical ankle, where the syndesmosis is, that ligament between the two bones of your lower leg, you can feel that kind of pushing. And that's what he's going to have trouble with. So is that stopping and starting? Is that cutting left and right? Is that lateral motion? It's all of the above. But if it's only slightly, if it's not inflamed, if they don't have to tape it up the way they did using a box of athletic tape, it looked like a cast that Rick Burkholder had put on him. But if he can move at 75 to 80%, that's more than a lot of people. I don't think this is going to be a situation like those years ago when Donovan McNabb basically couldn't move and they were picking him up to move him down the field. Mahomes simply can't be effective being a stationary Tom Brady style quarterback. He has to move. He has to be able to extend plays and get his receivers open. So if he can do that at a 75, 80% level, I think he can be very effective. And I think people are overestimating the effect of this on him because they don't understand the context of what he's done in the past. So I think people are going to overestimate the effect on him. And I don't think the Bengals will, but I think certainly the line is looking like they think Patrick is more hurt than he is.
Everybody brings up, and I don't know if you've seen this, Will, but real quick, Andy Reid compared it to 2019 when he rolled his ankle against the Jaguars. I don't like that because it's his completely different foot. That was his lead foot. That was his left leg. Yeah. And this one it's his plant leg. So
But he's done that one before as well.
Yeah,
he's done both before.
And that's the reason why I look at this and I go, that's like apples and oranges. Having your lead foot compared to your plant foot, any quarterback will tell you that it's your plant foot that's more important than your lead foot.
But he often throws off one foot, the front foot, or no feet. He has had the injury to both feet. So I think the comparison to the other, because it was the other foot, I don't think that matters. I don't think, like I said, he's not a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning style statue quarterback where the back foot is that much more important. This is a situation more akin to Steph Curry. Curry had ankle ligaments that he sprained so many times they were just looser, so loose that they had to go in there and tighten them up. And both before and after, he's been pretty good. His Mahomes are just a little bit looser, so he didn't have as much damage at the cellular level. So again, I think we're overestimating the effect this is going to have on him.
We're talking with Will Carroll. If you haven't noticed, he's an injury expert at the Lines, longtime sports writer, author of a new book coming out called The Science of Football. I'm excited for that. Those are the kind of books that I read when it comes to the sports world. All right, Will, is this type of injury most doable from the quarterback position? Like, if you did this as a defensive back, you wouldn't be able to play in this game if it's the same type of injury? Or is the quarterback spot one that you can get away with this type of injury?
No, for all of it, it's going to be difficult. Again, I think Mahomes is uniquely situated to handle this. We've seen this as an injury a lot lately. We've seen more and more high ankle sprains. We've seen new treatments for it. Just a couple weeks ago, we saw Ryan Tannehill. He played through an absolutely ruptured high ankle, played for several weeks, finally just couldn't do it anymore, had to have surgery. They put it back together with Kevlar. Tua Tagovailoa has had this. He has both ankles put together with Kevlar. There are a lot of players at different positions. It's a question of how much damage did you have? How much inflammation do you have? How quickly can you get it out? In a lot of situations, this will take a month to come back from. But again, just because of the way Mahomes has had this injury before, and because he's prepared for it in the past, he has a unique ability to deal with it that most others at any position don't. And remember, the other thing is, quarterback as a position is just kind of like running back. You know, just because you play the same position doesn't mean you're the same guy. You know, Derrick Henry is not Isaiah Pacheco, is not James White, is not, you can go down the list. Christian McCaffrey is almost unique. Why do we call them the same position? Wide receivers, tight ends. The NFL is hybridized to such an extent that I don't think we can compare somebody like a Ryan Tannehill, who's a little mobile, but certainly not a Mahomes, to a Mahomes.
You mentioned there's been more high ankle sprains. Why is that the case?
I think it's shoes. I don't have any evidence for that, but over the last few years, we've had more lower leg injuries. Some of that is the turf, and teams are taking that seriously. The Giants are actually the Giants and the Jets are actually changing the turf this year, and the turf is only 2 years old. Usually it lasts 5-6 years. But the shoes have just gotten stickier, so we're having more lower leg, more foot injuries, more knee injuries. I think it was the famous Mars Blackman who said it's got to be the shoes, money. But I think the shoes are just so much better. They're so much lighter that something's got to give. If those shoes are sticking and you're able to cut harder, you're putting the force somewhere. And that's often the high ankle. That's often the foot. We've seen more Jones fractures and Lisfranc sprains and things like that. The other is, man, these guys are big and fast. And when you get rolled up, we're seeing more of that as well.
We're talking with Will Carroll. You can follow him on Twitter at Injury Expert. And so what I've gathered from this is the swelling of the ankle, getting it to its normal shape is the very big and the most important part, because once you get that, then you work on the stability and the flexibility. And it sounds as if that there wasn't, it didn't turn black and blue. And if anybody's ever rolled an ankle, it wells up like a grapefruit and then it's all black and blue and it looks like somebody hit a hammer to your ankle. That might not be the case for this situation, which is a great situation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a great point because the inflammation is in a different area. Remember, this isn't actually the ankle. This is the syndesmotic joint, which is where the tibia and the fibula, if you go to the bottom of your shin, right where your little sister probably used to kick you, and you feel where those two bones come together and how it moves a little bit, is a very thick ligament. So when it tears, the inflammation tends to be in between. When you roll your ankle, your actual anatomical ankle, that thing swells up like crazy because there's so many little pockets and ligaments and bones. There's so many things going on down there. The syndesmosis is a little simpler, but it's not designed to move very much, which is why you get so much inflammation, so much damage internally.
Alrighty, we all joke about, and I will forever remember Aaron Rodgers in the interview after the game. That dude didn't even know what planet he was on. He got doped up with so much drugs. I don't know if you remember that, Will. So will they?
That might just be Aaron, though.
That is true. Will they give him a shot? Like, what does the shot do? You put it in the ankle and it, all of a sudden you don't feel your ankle, or what's the shot do to try to numb the pain?
There are two different shots. People say, you can just take an injection, just shoot him up, he'll be fine. First off, if you've ever had any sort of pain-killing injection, if you've gone to the dentist, they shoot you up before they work on a tooth. They give you a little injection before they take a mole off or something. You don't feel it. You can't not feel your foot. That's just not going to work for a quarterback. So the other is a general, which is basically think of getting doped up. If I can't remember whether marijuana is legal in Kansas, but
it is not. It is definitely not.
So you would think about going out and trying to play football stoned. Doesn't really work. People do it. Toradol used to be used a lot. That's a fairly big general one, but it's had some problems. There have been a lot of lawsuits. People have had internal organ damage because they've used it so much. So the NFL has actually pulled back on that a lot. So really what he's probably going to take is a handful of Advil and go get them.
A handful of Advil and go get him, son. That's what we got. So with all of this, and you know what, I can't wait till people do the Zapruder film of Mahomes, because there's already video of him coming through the hallway, walking through the door, walking up to the stage. He was wearing both shoes, no walking boot, and already people are gonna be like, is he limping? Is he not? I find that kind of stuff hysterical. So overall, what do you think will be the outcome? Is there a percentage? And I understand you have not looked at him, you have not treated him, but what do you think this will end up being for Sunday in his percentage? Or will he stay in the pocket? Will he not? Will there be a severe limp? How do you think this will kind of look? Your best guess.
I think he's going to be about 75 to 80%. And I say that because the Chiefs have said he'll be at 75 to 80%. One of the great things, one of the reasons I love that organization, their medical staff, and full credit to Rick Burkholder, who's one of the best, they respect their fans. So they go out and give the information. There's no need to hide this. Everybody's going to know. It's not like there's some great, secret that if you don't tell your fans what's going on, I think there's a trust bank that you build up with your fans. And in situations like this, tell them more, which is exactly what they've always done in situations. I can remember they had, I can't remember who it was, but he was going to have back surgery. They said he got hurt here. We had him checked here. He talked to a surgeon, came back, tried to rehab through it. Didn't work. So he went back. He'll be back in 4 weeks. And everything went exactly like they said. And boom, 4 weeks later, the player's back in and they're moving on to the Super Bowl. So in this case, there's no big secret. He's at 75 to 80%. And 80% of Patrick Mahomes is better than a lot of people. Is it better than Joe Burrow the way he's playing right now? I'm certainly going to watch to see.
The whole myth of he's a fast healer. The Royals have Salvador Perez. The dude gets injured like every other year.
Yeah.
He comes back quicker than anybody expects. Is there such thing as a fast healer or a quick healer, or it is just, the injury was not as severe as we thought? What can you break down that myth for me?
I'll say there's two things going on there. First, yeah, people do heal differently. I mean, we've all, you cut yourself shaving, and some people it's gone in 10 minutes, and some people it's there 3 days later. People are different, and their healing systems, their bodies work better in some cases. Some of us have broken down systems over the years through use and abuse. The other, and I'll give full credit to Rick Burkholder and Nick Kenny again, the Royals and the Chiefs, they have great medical staff. And I think some of the fast healing is good medical staff. And it's easier to just give credit to some, magic bean like fast healing. Though, again, it does exist. There's a reason we put a range on things when we say 2 to 4 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks. Somebody might come back in 4 weeks rather than when somebody else with a very similar injury comes back in 6 weeks. And because we don't know, fast healers is good an explanation as any.
All right, last two. My 2 questions, 2 for the road here. I wish there was a way we could measure pain tolerance. Like if I roll an ankle and Fulton rolls an ankle, and we both roll it to the same severity, even though I know that's not can happen. But is there a way to measure pain tolerance? Like maybe I'm tougher, or maybe Fulton's tougher than me if we have the same injury. Is there a way to quantify that?
There is. There was a great study done about 5 years ago at University of California. What they did is try to rate pain, and it turns out it's absolutely relative. You talk to a woman, and they almost, to a person, say the worst pain is childbirth. To a man, the worst pain is almost always a solid kick to the groin. But the worst pain is the worst pain. So people that have had a leg blown off in combat, if you rate that pain as a 10, it is exactly the same as somebody who, rolled their ankle, and that's the worst thing they've ever had. Their response to that is what's different. And so pain is all completely relative. The thing is, with the NFL, these guys are crazy. We all know the Ronnie Lott story, but right now, Lane Johnson, the offensive tackle for the Eagles, is playing with a ruptured adductor muscle. That's his groin. It is pulled off the bone, and he is playing. He's going to have surgery. He had it scheduled for every Tuesday after a game. So he's hoping that he can cancel the one for next week, that they make it to the Super Bowl, and they can have it the Tuesday after that, even though I think he'll cancel that for a parade. This guy is crazy. How can you even think? You have torn your groin off the bone. I'll go out there and play a game where I have to shuffle and push and have a stable base. I can't imagine the pain he's in.
Last question I've got for you. What's the one injury that's the hardest to come back from that you have studied? Is it foot injuries, ankle, knees, head, shoulders, knees or toes? What is it?
Yeah. I think DeMar Hamlin really changed her opinion. We saw someone almost die. And I think that changed a lot of perspectives. I think it's done a lot of positive good. We know now that we need medical professionals at every single game and practice, whether it's the NFL or whether it's your Pop Warner League. That same thing has killed kids in Little League Baseball. And had they had a medical professional or an AED handy, I think everybody needs to know what the medical plan is if your kids are out there playing sports. And if there's not a plan, if there's not money for an athletic trainer or an AED, I think you need to reconsider whether you have sports. As far as what's the worst, any sort of dislocation, I think that we've made so much progress on knees. I've got an article coming out tomorrow about a female basketball player who had knee surgery in August. She is going to play tomorrow in her high school season, less than 6 months after a full ACL reconstruction. That's how good we're getting at this with new things. The tightrope surgery that I talked about where they take a high ankle and fix it with Kevlar. We're going to see a revolution in the next couple of years in terms of how we fix injuries and how quickly we can rehab them back. So I don't know if there's a worse, though. I think we're probably the worst with hips and backs.
As always, thank you so much for the time, Will. We appreciate it. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend.
You too, guys.
That is Will Carroll, does a fantastic job. Well, I don't know about you, but I learned a hell of a lot right there. That's great stuff.
I now have more knowledge about injuries than I ever thought I was going to have before.
Will Carroll, injury expert at the Lines, longtime sports writer, got a book coming out called The Science of Football. Coming up, we're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes. We'll also hear from Andy Reid. That's coming up here on Mic'd Up. Number 2 here on Mic'd Up. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday edition. Got some snow overnight. Covered the streets a little bit, but it is now all and gone. I can tell you this: we haven't had that one big, gigantic snow or ice situation that causes people to maybe be a little bit more cautious, because I was driving this morning on my way to get my haircut. Thanks for noticing, Fulton. And
You're welcome, Jake.
This dude next to me, I mean, he thought that, he was Dale Earnhardt. I mean, just weaving in and out of traffic when this morning there was still snow on the ground. And I'm just going, yeah, we haven't had that one snow yet where it causes everybody to slow down. If you really think about that, we really haven't.
Yeah, really.
Unless my memory is that poorly of what has occurred recently. But holy cow, there were people out there looking like they were Jeff Gordon.
They're being Mario Andretti.
Yep. The thing of this is Watkins Glen out here, and it's a road course. Jeez.
This has been NASCAR references and a little IndyCar with Fulton.
Yeah, you threw in the one IndyCar.
I did.
Yep.
My dad, that is his go-to when he, jokingly tells me to drive safer. Is note me be Mario being Mario Andretti out there.
So
which is interesting that's where he goes.
I go with either Jeff Gordon or Dale Jr.
Yeah, my dad watches all kinds of more motorsport racing. Like if it's auto racing in any form, my dad's probably watched a good chunk of it.
Is he a big F1 guy now?
He's not gotten to F1 yet because there's
Formula.
enough NASCAR to keep him satiated. But like watches all his NASCAR, watches the Indy 500 at least every year. And then loves him some good dirt track racing.
All right. Well, we are going to get to one Patrick Mahomes. He walked to the podium. Did not look like he was limping. And he spoke to the media. This is what everybody was wondering and waiting for since after he left the podium on Saturday after the divisional round.
Also, the lectern is what he left.
Yes, found that out. It's not a podium.
So I think
it's a lectern.
I think if we've done this right, it is a podium. Is the space they stand on elevated?
Yes.
Then I think it is technically that is the podium, but they stand at the lectern.
It says here, because I Googled the difference here. The two words actually refer to two very different things. A podium is a small platform on a stage. You stand on a podium. A lectern is the piece of furniture that often supports a microphone and usually has space for a speaker to place his or her notes. So, yes, he is. The key word is the before it. He is on the podium.
He's at the lectern.
If you say he's at the podium, that's
incorrect.
Incorrect.
He's at the lectern.
He is at the lectern.
We
on
can
the
also
podium.
get much more specific here because you brought up the word dais with that. We were chatting with this off air, in which I said a dais by definition is a low platform for a lectern. So depending on how we're describing the height of the platform, he's not even on the podium. He's on the dais and at the lectern.
So there's a lot going on. I think
we've learned a lot of public speaking jargon today.
You're welcome.
We do this so you guys don't have to.
Exactly. Here's what Patrick Mahomes had to say.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, AFC Championship week, ready to go.
How's the ankle?
It's doing good. You know, I've had a few days of treatment, a few days of rehab. Excited to get on the practice field and kind of test it out and see where I'm at. But it's feeling good so far.
You expressed that you'd start treatment the night after the game. Can you just kind of bring us through what that night was and then these last few days, what you've been doing?
Yeah, I was able to do some extra testing just to make sure everything was good, not after the game, and then get a few things done to help the treatment kind of start off. And then the next few days has just kind of been, all day thing where you're just doing either treatment or rehab or watching film. And I had to take Brittany a few places with me so I can be around the kids a little bit. But it's a full day thing where you're trying to make sure that you're obviously prepared for the Bengals and a great football team, mentally and physically.
Patrick, what do you think has been the toughest injury that you've had to play through before? How that might serve you for Sunday?
Probably my toe would probably be the toughest injury. I remember when I had the toe, I was like I had to curl my toes when I walked. So that was probably the toughest injury that I had to play through. But I've dealt with a lot of them, man. And you gotta have to mentally just get yourself to focus on what needs to be focused on, and that's the team that you're playing. And you prepare your body all week, and then when you get to Sunday, you focus on playing the football game, and that's what I'm gonna try to do this week.
Is this at all comparable to the injury you had against Jacksonville a few years ago?
Yeah, it's very similar, just a different ankle, especially when you're different ankles at the quarterback position, you're planting and throwing off different stuff. So the last one, it was the leg that I landed on, so I had to find ways to throw where I could land and keep it in the right spot. And this time I'll have to find ways to be able to push off and be able to still make the throws the right way. So definitely similar in a sense, but obviously different limitations and stuff that I'll have to work through.
Chiefs career that you come into a playoff game as an underdog, especially as a home underdog, basically due to your injury, so to speak. Do you feel more pressure? Do you feel like it's because you're an underdog now? There's not a lot of pressure. There's a lot of people expecting Cincinnati to win this game now.
Yeah, every time I walk on that field, I don't think I'm an underdog, especially when I walk on Arrowhead's field. So I just go in with the same mindset of we're going to play our best football to win. We know we're playing a great football team that's beat us the last 3 times. And so we have to learn from our mistakes in the past and be better in order to win against a great football team.
Does it require a different, just because of which leg it is, does it require an adjustment in footwork? And do you try and practice that adjustment now?
I think we'll see throughout the week. I haven't got to go out and practice yet and put myself in those positions. I've done limited stuff kind of in small kind of box of what I can do, but I'll push it a little bit today and then the next day and then the next day again and see what I can do that not re-aggravate the injury, obviously, but to push it to see what I'll be able to do on Sunday.
Any hesitation mentally, when considering the last time in the field that you want to have coming up on Sunday?
There was a little bit earlier in the week. I mean, you want to push it, but you don't, like I said, you don't want to re-aggravate it or do something that you were in the position this last game and it was hurting. But that's stuff that you do the rehab and then you do the treatment for is to prepare yourself to go out and practice and go out and play. And all you can do is keep pushing it and try to do whatever you can to go out there and win a football game.
Patrick, I do at home, but are you off your feet when you're at the house, or you doing some stuff at home as well?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been at the house much. So when I'm at the house, it's usually either studying or going to sleep. So it's just kind of prepare yourself, do whatever I can at the building. And then whenever I can't get off my feet and get some sleep, then I'll go get some sleep.
Looking at past legends that have played through major injuries, what's your awareness of some of them in the past, and what can you learn from?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of greats have done it. I mean, I think it's just about being a competitor. I mean, if you want to be out there, and especially in these games. And so all you can do is just mentally prepare yourself and your body throughout the week. And then, like I said, you get the game day, you just have to focus on the game. And that's what I'll try to do is prepare my body the best I can and get to the game and just go out there and play and try to find a way to win.
Hey, is this progressed better than you expected?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I felt better than I thought I was going to be after the game. I mean, moving on it during the game definitely hurt. But after the game, I was able to rest it and kind of ice it up and do different stuff like that. I felt in a little bit better position. And obviously the next morning felt a little bit better, and I've continued to get better throughout the week. So we'll see how I feel today at practice, and I'll get a better feel for y'all, and I'll be able to, I think, answer a little bit better tomorrow.
This is a team you've faced a few times, like a division opponent. You guys know each other pretty well. You've been able to run on them. What has been the challenge trying to throw against that secondary?
Yeah, they're coached well, man. Their defensive coordinator, Coach Anarumo, has done a great job of changing up the game plan. I think that's been the best thing. Is very game plan specific. It's never the same. He gives you different looks out of the same look, but different coverages. And that's what I think a lot of great defensive coordinators do is they're able to coach their team up and do a lot of different stuff and variety of stuff, but still be sound in it. And I think that's what they do well. And then they have great players. I mean, at the end of the day, they have great players that are extremely coachable and go out there and do their job to the best of their ability. And so when you're at this point in the playoffs, you're playing against great teams, and it's about who can execute at a higher level.
In different ways, for lack of better terms, the Bengals have been a little vocal this week. What's been the messaging internally just to not get involved with that and react to that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we just go out there and play football at the end of the day, and all that stuff you can talk throughout the week, but at the end of the day, it's a football game. You have to go out there and play it. So we believe in just showing up on Sunday, playing our best football, and seeing what happens.
Patrick, a little related to that, you're a lot more used to having winning streaks against other teams than having one going this way. How do you work with that in terms of the motivational point there? I know you look for motivation at different places.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously lost this team 3 times in a row, and we've had great football games against them, but they've been able to beat us situationally at the end of games. And so how can we be better there? We know it's going to be a close football game. Every team you play in this position is going to be a close football game. But how can we be better situationally that we go out there and we're able to execute on third down in the red zone and at the end of games in order to win against a good football team?
This gets in your head in a negative way in any way, right? I mean, I assume it's motivation rather than.
Yeah, I don't know how it would be a negative way. I mean, I think you won't relax. You'll focus in even more on the details. So, I mean, we'll be ready to go, and I'll be ready to go for sure.
They've done a nice job of putting pressure on a lot of teams. How much of what they do is scheme stuff, and how much of it is just physically they're able to do something to put pressure on quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think more than anything, they have no weakness across that whole defensive line and that linebacker position. I mean, they do a good job of pass rushing. They do a good job with their DBs of rushing from the outside, and they keep changing it up. I think that's the biggest thing is you can't relax back there. You have to make sure that you're really focused on the details, and same with the offensive line and the running backs and the protection plan. So, I mean, it's a little bit of both. They have great players all throughout that defense, and then they have a great coach and a defensive coordinator. So, for us, we have to focus on the details, prepare ourselves the best way possible, and at the end of the day, we have to go out there and play.
Patrick, you talked about, working yourself back into the groove as far as, being able to not be limited and moving around. What's your message to the offensive line, knowing that you may be limited and not be able to move?
Yeah, I think you saw in the second half of this last game, man. They stepped up and did a great job of protecting me, and where I was able to throw the ball from within the pocket. And I'm sure they'll be ready to go. But like I said, it's a great defensive line, so it'll be a great challenge for them. But I'm excited for those guys to go out there and accept the challenge.
Sam, Patrick, without asking you to give away what you're game planning for, does your game plan adjust based on the thing that you think they might perceive you have limitations?
Not necessarily. Like I was saying earlier, they're very game plan specific, and they switch every time it seems like we play them. And so it's one of those teams you have to be preparing for everything. Played them one time, they pressured a little bit, played it more kind of true to the coverages. So I'm expecting to have a mixture of all that stuff, man. I mean, that's why they're in this position. And so you just prepare yourself to be ready for it and execute the play, and then move on to the next one.
Patrick Mahomes, ankle, doing good. I mean, pretty simple.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing good. AFC Championship week, ready to go.
How's the ankle?
It's doing good. I've had a few days of treatment, a few days of rehab. Excited to get on the practice field and kind of test it out.
There we go. Mahomes, 100%, right? No big deal. I just hope he has mobility enough that he can move in the pocket. But even more so than that, it is very, very simple. Does he get it rolled up on?
Yeah.
Does he get it tweaked? The O-line, this is monster in this game. Because if he doesn't, let's say he doesn't get it rolled up on and the Chiefs win, he will not play somebody for
2 weeks,
2 full weeks. And that will probably get him to the point where he can maybe run around a little bit more, judging upon how he looks in this game on Sunday. So the O-line is so important in this one. And I'm going to go with a specific person in Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown has to have his best game. If Orlando Brown plays well, then I think the Chiefs offense will play well. I don't think the Bengals defense can hold the Chiefs if the offense and they give Mahomes time. We have seen that from this entire year. And I think if Mahomes has time, he will get guys open. And if I am the Chiefs, I think I try to get to Travis Kelce, but there's no way that the Bengals don't at least do something extra to try to slow him down, considering what he's done in the playoffs is absurd. What he's done in the playoffs. I think a touchdown in 6 of his last 7 games, almost 100 yards in every damn game. I think this is a game that Tony, Juju, MVS, Justin Watson, they got to play well. They got to get open. And can Mahomes hit those individuals? I think that's going to be a big key. But, boy, everything kind of looks like he's going to be all right. It really does. Or at least 75 to 80%, which is probably the 4th best quarterback in the NFL, maybe? Mahomes right now? I mean, you'd probably take Allen and Burrow ahead of him because of the ankle. Would you rather take, maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. Would you rather take Mahomes right now, half ankle, or Jalen Hurts?
Mahomes on half an ankle.
You know what I mean? Like, that's interesting.
Mahomes on half an ankle.
Coming up next, everyone loves the list. Overrated foods. They get too much love. We'll get to that next. Everyone loves a good old list. And as Fulton tells me, Marlon Humphrey, corner for the Baltimore Ravens, says all pizza tastes the same.
Yeah, today's list is on our. I'm gonna pull up the actual tweets from Marlon Humphrey here.
But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go with overrated foods. Okay, overrated foods.
Yeah, foods that you feel are a little overrated and get maybe a little bit too much. Not necessarily for sure too much love, but just a thought on
Marlon Humphrey thinks all pizza tastes the same.
Yeah,
because
Marlon Humphrey believes there's no such thing as a fire pizza joint because they're all the exact same.
That is.
Marlon Humphrey also believes mac and cheese ain't that good. It's just noodles and cheese.
Right now, I'm going to side with Marlon Humphrey because the amount of mac and cheese that I have made makes me want to just never eat mac and cheese again. Alrighty, number 4.
That's very fair.
Number 4, what do you got?
Number 4 for me, shout out our good friend Dan Lucero, 580 Sports Talk for this. I think lasagna is a little bit overrated.
I'm with you there. I don't like
because
lasagna.
if I'm getting Italian food, lasagna is really low on the totem pole of where I'm going.
Yeah, burrito.
It's fine, but it's not where I'm going.
Number 4, avocados.
Yeah, that's an honorable mention for me. Avocados ain't good. Avocados ain't good.
Way too hyped out.
No, they're not good.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me, turkey, and I mean the bird for like Thanksgiving dinner specifically. Turkey is a dry bird. It is overrated. Y'all gotta stop pretending it's really good. I will die on that hill.
Wow.
Turkey is overrated.
All right, I am going
Get yourself a real main dish.
Hey, I'm going to insult whoever does the cooking at your house right now. Y'all haven't had good turkey then. Sorry, whoever's cooking that bird, you doing it wrong. Number 3, I think I might upset you here. The IPA.
Now I'm with you.
I don't need 89 billion IPAs. Honestly, all taste the same. They all taste the same.
Hey man, you'll get. I am a man who does love a good variety when it comes to my beer selection. IPAs are I would agree they're the overrated route.
I need the dark amber citrus, whatever IPA. No, overrated.
No. I don't like too massively bitter beers, and IPAs are all super bitter.
Yeah.
That's not my thing.
Way overrated.
Number 2 for me, y'all know where I stand on this, and it's going to have to hit the list, and I'm being very specific with it this time.
I can't control your microphone right now, but I want to.
The hard-shelled beef taco specifically. Yeah. It's fine, but it's not that great.
Number 2 for me, sparkling water.
Okay.
It tastes like static TV when we were kids. When you
Yeah,
get the
I feel
snow.
you. Yeah, no, I feel you.
That's what it feels like in my mouth.
Okay.
Sparkling water, like
Sparkling water's not great. I
everybody-
agree.
When I was in South Africa, it was, would you like sparkling or still water? Give me still. Yeah, just chill water. What's number one?
Number one for me, we're going back to Thanksgiving for this one, and this I know will cause fights with many of people. Get green bean casserole out of here, never make it again, and throw it in the garbage and burn it in a pit of fire.
Now, is that overrated or just you don't like it? Because
It's
there's a
both.
difference.
No, it's both.
Well,
it is
can't be-
entirely both.
It can't be both. It's got to be overrated.
It's not good, but also it is incredibly overrated. Everyone acts like it's the pinnacle piece you add to a Thanksgiving spread. No, it isn't. It doesn't need to exist.
I think you're a little you're a little yeah. Number one to me, the charcuterie board. Honestly, it's just
you mean fancy Lunchables?
It's just fancy random food.
It's fancy Lunchables. It's Lunchables with a fancy name.
Placed.
No, I'm with you.
Placed on a board, but they include, you got like nuts next to, like, it just no, way overrated. Can they be good? Yes, but way overrated. Way overrated. Yeah, no question. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Andy Reid.
Beatrice.
We've heard from Patrick Mahomes as we have got a lot of responses on the overrated foods aspect. From
People
our
got takes.
YouTube page. You can check us out on YouTube at our website, 580wiw.com. Sushi, without a doubt.
Sushi is delicious. If you think it's overrated, just haven't had good ones. It is delicious.
Huh. Kind of like turkey.
Shut your mouth.
Kind of like turkey.
No, shut your mouth.
Kinda
Get
like,
out of here.
Get
out of here.
You're really bummed that because that's the same argument I just had about turkey.
Get out of here.
Fulton made the right call on turkey.
Yeah.
So we got a couple different ones.
Because the people are with me. The people understand me.
I like how Jake considers beer a food.
That is true. We said food, and Jake put a beverage.
Well, I did too. Sparkling water. Too.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you want
but I'm okay with the move because those are two overrated things.
They are overrated. In
I
the
agree.
food liquid
bubbly
area.
water is not good.
No, it's not.
Don't
good at all.
put bubbles in my water.
Yeah. These are the 4 most overrated things in the history of the world. Wow. That's a bold take. I can't mention one of those.
Yeah, one of those we can't say.
Champagne. Okay, is it champagne? Or because champagne only comes from a very specific
From the Champagne region of France.
Yeah. So are we talking champagne?
We talk. I don't know. Champagne's fine.
I don't mind.
I agree, kind of being overrated. I don't need to celebrate things with champagne. Champagne's fine.
Yeah. Lobster.
I disagree wholeheartedly. Lobster is beautiful and wonderful, and I wish I could have more of it.
Kind of like turkey.
Jake, shut your mouth.
And then picnics. I have no take on picnic.
I agree. I have no take on the picnic. Partly because I don't think I've ever been on a picnic. Like, I don't think I've been on a traditional, what you would call a picnic. I've had food outside, but I also think eating food outside is kind of a thing. I'm not a fan of it because bugs exist in the times of the years you do that, and it's a problem.
Here's
Just
the thing.
eat indoors.
To me, overrated.
And I'm an outdoors guy.
To me, when I think of overrated foods, I don't think of foods I don't like. I think of foods that I do eat, but I think people puff them up too much. Much like avocados. Do I like guacamole? Yes, I do, but I think people put it way too high. Do I like IPAs? I will drink an IPA.
But you think it gets more love than it needs.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I'm a little different because I think it can be both either things you like, but you think other people puff it up too much, or I think very much so things that everyone think is the greatest thing in the world, but just ain't that good.
See, to me, you just dislike that then. That's not overrated. You just dislike it.
See, I think it's overrated.
Like, do you think, you might like lasagna. I don't think it's overrated. I just don't like it. So I'm not going to overrate it. That's how I look at overrated, properly rated, that type of thing.
I accept your position.
You see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I accept your position, and I understand, and it's not the biggest disagreement we've ever had.
Yeah. But there are a few of them. Green bean casserole. I just don't like it, so that's why I'm not going to put that in that category.
Put it in a pit of fire. Get it off your Thanksgiving table.
So you don't like it. It's not overrated. You just
it's
don't
both.
like it. You just don't like it. It's both. Yeah, I mean, it can be in your situation. Andy Reid met with the media. He started out very Andy Reid. Short, sweet, to the point. Got a little bit more in depth. But here's what Big Red had to say to the media today.
Look forward to the challenge of playing Cincinnati. Good football team, as you'd expect, coming down to the last 4 teams standing here. So we look forward to the challenge of playing them. Well, that time's yours. Yeah, no, he'll practice. He did the walkthrough this morning, and he'll practice this afternoon.
Do you anticipate him being a full or limited participant for tonight?
Yeah, I think we'll see. But I think he'll do probably everything. But we'll see. Yeah.
Can you go on from past examples of players playing through injuries and how Patrick learned from that?
He's had injuries before, so he can bank on that past experience that he's had, but he'll do fine. It's just a matter of making sure that he's safe safe as you can be out there on the football field. But
Andy, is it a case of just wanting to see him get through some things today, and then obviously next hurdles is obviously how does it respond for tomorrow's practice?
Yeah, I mean, is it day by day? Yeah, day by day. Yeah, I'd tell you yes.
Is there one or maybe two things you want to see from him today in practice just to ensure that you guys are headed in the right direction?
Well, just how he functions. He did well in the walkthrough, and we'll just take the next step, Nate. I mean, just see where he's at with it and go with it.
Coach, when it comes to McCole, you guys backed off last week, and it sounds like today. Just where is he at?
Yeah, he feels better than he did the last couple of weeks. So that move looked like it worked to this point. And then again, we'll just see how he does every day here. And he seems to be in a good place. Yeah.
Andy, you've spoken about this before, but Kadarius seems to have found a unique spot within the offense, and I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on how he's been able to do that both physically and also with his ability to grasp the offense.
Yeah, well, I mean, the main thing was that, excuse me, Doug, is that he, the hamstring was healthy. I mean, that was kind of the hang up. And it kept occurring. I don't think, knowing him now, I'm not sure he ever let it get to the healing point because he wants to play. It's one of those things. So I'm sure he was saying, I'm okay. It's, fine. But because of his desire to be out there, he loves to play the game. That's what, that's what I've noticed most is he wants to be in there. So we backed him up a little bit and just made sure that he could be kind of get healthy in that area. And, he's been doing great since, knock on wood there, but I mean, he's been doing great. Yep.
Did you feel like, or do you feel like he had a particularly fast grasp of what you're trying to do?
He's a smart kid. Yeah. Smart. Picks things up easy. Yeah.
Andy, any thought that Clyde could be up this weekend and also doing sports?
There's a chance, probably more. There's a chance either one, but maybe more Fortson than Clyde. But we'll see how it goes. This week.
You guys have played the Bengals so often in the last year or so. Do you feel like them about like a division opponent at this point with this many games?
Yeah, I would say probably both ways. I would say that they know us and we know them, and we're all searching for that little extra thing that you can throw at them. So we played each other enough to, I'm sure both sides feel that way.
And when you look at Isaiah Pacheco, who's of course a rookie going into this game, never been in a situation before to start running back. What are your conversations like this week with them?
Yeah, it's really with all the rookies. I'd just say just be you and go play. I mean, that's learn the game plan and don't be anything more or anything less. Just go play.
Coach, there are people in Cincinnati who feel like they've got something. There's something that they have maybe mentally. Their players have more confidence against you guys. What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, listen, they probably should. They've won 3 games. So, that's I'm sure that's how they feel. But that's okay. We're still going to, play the game. So,
Coach, you said both teams are searching for the extra thing to get on top of each other. What did you see from the last game that put them over the top of y'all?
That wouldn't be smart if I answered that, but
Wave Chris Lamont, and then all of a sudden you see the Bengals claim him.
Sure.
How much of that were you disappointed to see something like that?
I mean, that's part of the game. That happened. I'm glad he hooked on with another team, so we'll be all right.
Andy, I know you said you weren't going to elaborate on specific points of, what got you a win or a loss, but I do wonder, you look at the 3 games with the Bengals, is there a commonality of self-induced mistakes that will be a point of emphasis
Yeah.
week or any more than usual? Or?
Yeah, against good teams, you can't do that, right? So our guys know that. And 2 good teams playing each other, the littlest thing can throw it to the side. So you got to take care of the ball. Yeah.
Andy, anything we asked you when you faced Jacksonville, if there's anything different you'd seen from the November match, then you feel the same way about Cincinnati? Is it kind of the same things you've seen out of them since it's so recent that you've played them last? Or is there anything you see?
Yeah, I'd just tell you they're a real good football team. They're not they don't have a lot of weaknesses on either side of the ball or special teams. So, it's that part hasn't changed from the first time we played them. They're good, or they wouldn't be here at this round. So, that'd be it.
Andy, it's an AFC Championship game. The guys are going to be up regardless. But do you sense that playing this particular team means something to your players?
Yeah, whoever they're going to put in front of you right now, I mean, that's you're going to be up for the game. I mean, that's and then these two teams compete well against each other, and so I think both teams will do that. Yeah.
And you mentioned the Pat's battled through injuries before in the past, and he's played well battling through them. But I guess, is he more prepared to handle it now as opposed to years past in terms of mentally playing the spot or handling it in any capacity?
Yeah, I would probably tell you yes. Yeah, I mean, he had a couple injuries in college that he fought through, but he's had in the NFL with all the games that you play, very seldom do you get to this point without having something, and that's just how it goes. And so I think he's, yeah, I mean, he knows it. He knows that, and he's pushing through right now. And we'll just see. We'll see how he does here. I mean, you're going to be looking at him like we're looking at him. So,
Andy, with the quarterback dealing with an injury, obviously you have to maybe adjust some things. I just wonder where you feel like your experience, having been the coach for all these years, helps you maybe get a quarterback, obviously maybe limited or hindered by something into a rhythm, to have them succeed in a better place. Where do you feel like your experience?
yeah. Yeah, you know what, Nate? I think we have enough in the game plan where you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go with it, and according to how the players are feeling, while they're playing, and so maybe experience helps. But there's enough in there that you can choose from and work any way you choose to go.
And is that just a quick follow up? Is that I think in previous times you said that there might be 250, maybe 300 plays for a certain game plan. Is just having a wider selection, does that also help too? Is that
Yeah, that's right. You have a variety of things that you can go to. Obviously, you don't use all the plays in the game, but they're available. And so if you have to go a certain direction, you can go that direction with the calls.
It's just mental fortitude and fighting through injury in the past. Are you comfortable? He does comparatively very little at practice this week. And really, all his game on mental.
Yeah, most likely he won't just do a little. He's gonna. I don't think I'm gonna have to go there with that. I might have to pull him back a little bit, but knowing him, I think he's gonna try to do everything, and we'll just see how he does. But I'm sure. I don't know what that number is, Michelle. I mean, whatever the number is, it is that he needs, but I don't think that's going to be the issue.
Andy, Frank Clarkson, the top 5 career postseason sack game last week. What are you seeing from him to suggest he could have another big game Sunday? And what is it about him in the postseason?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's always fired up, but I guess there's a little something extra there that he has, but he's a relentless player all the time. His numbers speak for themselves, throughout his career, but it's quite a record or opportunity for a record there with the sacks and playoffs. So you got to get there first to get them, right? And so he's had a lot of opportunities to do that when he was in Seattle and now here.
Last one.
Coach, there's a lot of talk about the passing game in both quarterbacks, but the Bengals are a very physical team, and so is the Chiefs. So how much emphasis is that going on in practice?
Yeah, so both teams are physical, and that's a good thing. It should be a great game to be a part of and for our fans to watch. So right now, though, you're not going to go and bang each other up before the game and do that. But the guys know that they absolutely know what you're saying. And so they'll prepare themselves mentally for that.
That is head coach Andy Reid meeting with the media today. So Big Red started out. He's going to practice. McCole Hardman. How about that? A little bit more useful. Maybe he's going to practice a little bit more. We'll have to take a really look at the injury report. But if he goes, how big of a deal is that? How big of a deal is Hardman probably at 80% on the field versus not? And the reason I say that is Sky Moore just doesn't quite have it right now. A couple of those, quick hitters. If that's McCole and he hits the turbos, he gets through those, I think, a little bit, whereas Kadarius Toney, the same situation.
Yeah, I agree.
So a part of me is like, I think that could make a difference. I'm still waiting on that. Hardman lined up at one slot, Toney the other slot. They zoom motion one of them one way, fake the handoff, and then as that goes on, Mahomes rolls out and they do a zoom like during the actual play.
Yeah.
The other one goes fast, crosses the face, so it's almost like a double jet sweep, one going one way and the fake. What are you going to do? Or does that cancel each other out and the defense really doesn't move because they just stay there because both of them? I do think that would work, especially because you get all the flow going one way. You fake the jet this way, go the quick jet the other way. Ooh, I think that could work. You're not feeling me on that?
I think it has legs.
Have a pulling guard too?
Yeah. We'll get the whiteboard out and we'll draw it up and we'll see what it looks like.
Man, it looked pretty good. In my head, it looks great.
I think we do need to get a whiteboard for the studio, though. So when we have these ideas, we just go to the whiteboard and draw it up.
I feel pretty good about that. I do think Hardman, in place of Sky Moore, gives them an extra foot of ceiling.
No, he does, because, and this has been discussed, they've given Moore some of those Hardman touches, in addition to Toney getting some of those. The thing with Sky Moore is he doesn't have the speed that makes those work. There's a lot of other great skills he has, and they're useful down the field and creating separation and, after catch, but not really because he's burning them, just because he's a little slippery. His talents aren't used to the optimal way if they're just on, jet sweep handoffs. Whereas, Hardman just has that burst, that juice, that when he gets those, he's just going. So, no, I think it very much gives the Chiefs a higher ceiling because he's just better designed for those looks. And Moore's looks just haven't really come around yet.
We'll get to this more once the season concludes, which is hopefully February. Hopefully we're talking this on like February
12th.
No, I don't want to talk about it on
13th.
February 13th. I
I
don't want to talk about it on February 13th. On February 13th,
you want to be celebrating?
I want to be
February 15th.
Questioning whether or not I should be at work that day.
You're going to be here on the 13th because I'm going to be here on the 13th.
That has no bearing
I am
whatsoever.
not letting you leave me alone.
That is no bearing whatsoever.
Executive privilege sucks.
It all depends on how the game, if the game is...
If they win, we'll both be here and celebrating. If they lose...
Depends on the celebration.
If they lose, we'll both be here and deal with it.
Depends on if they get there, first of all.
That's true.
But no, we'll talk about Sky Moore, on like February 22nd, after either a week of sorrow or a week of happiness or a week of I don't care, because it might be talked about next week.
I'm not putting that energy into the universe.
Yeah.
I'm not putting that energy into the universe.
We're going to talk a little K-State hoops. Kellis Robinett will join us to start the 2 o'clock hour here on Mic'd Up. Final hour of the Mic'd Up on this Wednesday. We appreciate you tagging along, joining us here. Jake Mon along with Fulton Caster. We got a lot to get to. Little edition of You Did What. We might hear from Justin Reid, safety, who had a lot to say the last time these two teams faced off against each other. What will Reid have to say? That is Reid the player, not Reid the coach. Because we know that Andy Reid, as you heard earlier last hour, that he is looking forward to the challenge of facing the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll get more about the Bengals and everything coming up on Thursday and Friday. We'll talk a little turnovers tomorrow when it comes to the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Bengals in the playoffs the last 2 years. As always, let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Very simple, very easy. Let us know. Also, you can check us out on YouTube. Go to 580wibw.com, 580wibw.com. But we start out talking a little hoops in this 2 o'clock hour. Talk all things K-State as the Wildcats fell to the Cyclones 80-76 up at Hilton last night. Welcome in Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. Kellis, how's your ankle or ankles doing? Are they doing all right? Do you got mobility? Are you feeling good? When you're typing, no issues, walking to a press conference. How are your ankles?
Well, I hopped the treadmill and ran for a mile earlier today, no problem. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm blessed whenever I do go outside and play sports. It's with my kids who are all under 11, and I'm breaking their ankles instead of the other way around.
Nice. Is there anything better than absolutely like crossing up a 3-year-old? I don't know if there is.
No, it's hard to beat. I always enjoy doing that and playing backyard football with. It makes me think I'm much better than I actually am if I were up against anybody my own size. I can see why people, when they say pick on someone your own size, it's much more fun to do it against somebody smaller.
The running joke was when Mahomes' ankle got hurt was, Mahomes, take my ankle. You can take my healthy ankle. Here's my question for you, Kellis, because sometimes we get in some rabbit holes that you just never know what's going to happen. So my question for you is there a player when you were young, old, now, where you would switch like healthy body parts? Like, here, Patrick, take my ankle and I'll take yours for the time being. Would you do that to help the team?
I'm struggling to think of a great example, but probably. I mean, how many times have there been great seasons derailed by injuries and everything? Yeah, I'd probably done that at some point in my life. Why not?
I look at how many Royals fans would have been like, Bo Jackson, I will take your terrible hip. Here's mine. The question then becomes, and this is getting way more, existentialist. Is Mahomes on a bad ankle, but it's his ankle, a better situation than, say, my 38-year-old ankle, which has been rolled a time or two? I'm wondering, if you put my ankle on his ankle, it actually probably wouldn't work out very well because mine's not as strong as maybe his is even, hurt like this.
Yeah, in that case, Mahomes can probably just go ahead and keep his ankle. He honestly didn't look so bad last week. He must really have ankles of steel, because any other football player I've ever heard of having a high ankle sprain is like out for weeks. And he was playing again in the second half, albeit very limited. Maybe he just does have some Superman ankles there.
See, this is the stuff that I think about sometimes, Kellis. So you're getting a little peek in behind the curtain when it comes to my brain at times. But Kellis, we can talk ankles all we want, but let's talk some hoops. You made the drive up to Ames. I could tell via social media that you did not like the drive to Ames, which, again, you need to write a book, Kellis. I'm telling you, that thing would do wonders. Find yourself a publisher, and if you do write the book, I would like to be part of the creative genius. I just need a little mention in the book. That's all. But I'm telling you, that thing would sell because you've been doing this for a while and people want to know the ins and outs of these local towns. But you get to Ames and you see the game. And did you think 80-76 scoring fest? Did you think that was going to occur?
No, I had the winning score at maybe 69, I think. And if you'd have told me that the winning score was going to be 80, I'd probably would have told you Kansas State was going to win, because Iowa State has one of the best defenses in the conference. They like to play slow. That's how they win most of their games. Kansas State actually sped this game up a little bit, played the way they wanted to in that regard. So that was a little bit surprising that not only did the game get that many points scored, but that Iowa State won. But when you look into the box score a little bit, Iowa State was just on fire from within the arc. Seems like going back for as long as I can remember, the key to beating Iowa State was, not letting them cook from the outside. Last night, they didn't really even need to make any threes. They were 23 of 33 on 2-pointers. Whenever they missed, they just gotta rebound and scored that way. I think one of the Iowa State beat writers said that Iowa State averaged 1.2 points per possession when they missed their first shot, which is just crazy.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah. So they were scoring. They did a great job of picking out, people to drive on. They made Marquise Noel look undersized. They made Ishmael Massoud look very bad at defense. And whenever they did miss, they were all over the glass. A real bad stat for Kansas State in this game was that their entire front court, Massoud, Bebe, and Naquan Tomlin, combined for 0 rebounds. Not one. Not a single one of their bigs could get a rebound. That's why they lost the game.
Do you know how hard it is not to get a rebound if you're 6'10"?
It's extremely hard. But they were dominated in that phase. And, it's kind of weird. Like, you look at the box score at the end and you see Ishmael Massoud 4 or 5 from 3. Wow. That's the game, right? Well, offensively, he gave Kansas State a huge lift, but didn't stop anybody on defense, didn't grab any rebounds. Kind of a wash in that regard. But at least he scored. The other two bigs really didn't. So that's one reason why they probably need to go ahead and get David Gasson back in the lineup sooner than later.
So the breakdown of this game, it's not a bad loss because most teams who go up to Ames get crushed. It's a missed opportunity, I would say. How would you kind of assess that game then?
I would stop short of calling it a moral victory. There's no such thing as a moral victory for the team that's first place in the Big 12. But I would say it was an encouraging result, even though they lost. The other 3 teams that had gone there this season had all lost by double digits. Texas Tech went there and lost by like 40. So Iowa State's margin of victory at home in the Big 12 heading into that game was 20 points. They hadn't lost in Hilton Coliseum all season. The place was juiced. People were, show you how far K-State was come. People were doing the, expletive deleted chants against K-State instead of the opposite way around. It was Farmageddon basketball at its best. I actually kind of liked that it felt like a rivalry in there. It's just a very difficult place to play, and Iowa State's really good. They've got good shooters. They've got a really good front court, and they are very, very hard to beat in Ames. I would say normally Kansas has the best home court advantage in the Big 12. I would say this year Iowa State has the best home court advantage in the Big 12. And with about 8 minutes to go, it looked like they were going to roll Kansas State too. They got out to a 10-point lead. The place was jacked. Iowa State was rolling. Kansas State said no way. Cut it all the way back down to 1. Really had a chance to steal the game late. Couldn't get it done. Some missed opportunity, whatever. But I was still encouraged by what I saw for the most part.
The Cyclones shot 57% from the field. Why is K-State bad on defense?
Good question. They're certainly not bad on defense in every game, but I think the main thing I would say is that even when they did miss, they had a rebound and had an easy layup right afterward to make the shooting percentage look a little bit higher than it was.
Okay.
But beyond that, I would just say Kansas State lacks, a true rim protector. I'm sitting here talking about how they need David Gasson back, but he's really not a rim protector either. Kind of a smaller mismatch kind of player. Naquan Tomlin is tall, but he grew up playing on the perimeter. He's not a guy who's going to stand in there and block shots. Good 3-point shooter, not a very good defender. Bebe, solid all-around player, but he's not a rim protector either. So Iowa State just kind of knew that going in. They said, you know what? They don't have anybody who can stop us at the rim. that's how we're going to score. And they were the first team that I had seen in a while do a really good job of creating mismatches against Kansas State. They would switch off screens and make Marquise Noel try to defend taller guards. They just drive right at him. Like I said, Ishmael Massoud, not known for defense, they drove at him. He got in foul trouble. They drove at him even more. So that's the big thing I'm seeing is they just don't have a guy like Flo Samba or David McCormick. Some names I'm thinking of in the past. Jordan Henriquez, they don't have a guy they can just put in there at the rim and protect it. That's the main thing I think they're missing right now.
I'm trying to think, is it, because when Washburn played K-State, Colbert, right? Is it Colbert, the big fella, right?
Yeah.
Jarrell Colbert. Yeah.
He had like 1,000 blocks in 3 minutes.
Exactly. So I'm wondering now, did they miss out on an opportunity because he's redshirting, correct?
Yes.
Did they miss out on an opportunity to have somebody like that? Because, Tomlin, you are correct. He is not an inside guy, and neither is Igiola. They list Igiola at 220. He might be 190. Tomlin, same thing. He might be 190 pounds. Whereas Colbert's a load inside. I wonder if that was that's what Baylor did. And, this is Purple Baylor. They redshirted people down there in Waco. But I wonder if that might not be a big help at this point in time if you could have Colbert in there.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think if they could have brought him along properly and developed him, he could be a valuable defensive weapon right now. You could maybe even make a case for Taj Manning. He had some moments in the preseason. He's another forward who could maybe be helping him right now. I was surprised as anybody that Jarrell Colbert was redshirting in the preseason. I think he really could have helped this team. But like you said, they modeled themselves after Baylor. Jerome Tang was beyond excited when those guys said they wanted a redshirt. Spots they don't have to recruit, try to fill next year, gives them a great scout team. There's plenty of reasons why they're helpful doing what they're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. I would like to see the alternate universe where those guys are playing because Jarrell Colbert is the one guy on the team who could block shots.
We're talking with Kellis Robinett, covers the K-State Wildcats for the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. Follow him on Twitter at Kellis Robinett. Kellis, when I saw K-State up close and personal when they took on Washburn, they didn't shoot it that great. They didn't score it that great. And I took away just from looking at them going, wow, they got a lot of athletes. How are they going to score? Now the question is, how are they going to defend? I am actually very surprised that this is the best offense in the Big 12. I really am. It says a lot about what Coach Jerome Tang has done with this team, getting 12 guys essentially to play together that have never played together, and they're playing at an all-time confidence level. I mean, these guys think that they're all, Steph Curry, but I did not see this type of team playing out where they're going to score 76 on the best team on defense in the Big 12, and they're going to give up 80. I just didn't see this coming. Did you?
No, but I think we kind of saw the change in the way this team was going when Kansas State went down to Austin and scored 116 points, gave up 103. Like, where in the world did that game come from? It is interesting. I totally would have agreed with you early in the season because it looked like the team didn't have many three-point shooters, didn't have a lot of offensive weapons. If Marquise and Keontae weren't cooking, I wasn't sure where the points were going to come from, but they've gotten some fabulous offensive contributions from Desi Sills in games, Ishmael Massoud in games. Kim Carter was pretty hot last night. They've come a long way on offense. They run. I think their athleticism has helped them out there, down there, because when they do get in transition, it's pretty easy for them to score. What's interesting to me, though, is that athleticism just, for whatever reason, isn't producing the same kind of results on defense. And I wonder if maybe it's because they don't play a ton of zone like Baylor used to. I know they got away from that at the end of
Mhm.
Jerome Tang's tenure there, but that's where all that size and length and athleticism was at its best. You put him in that zone, it was like, where in the world are you supposed to go against this team? So I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it, but this is also a smart coaching staff, and I feel like they've got some good defensive game, or at least better defense.
They take on Florida Saturday. Whenever you hear Bill Self talk, he hates this thing, doesn't like it, sandwiched in the middle. If you ask him, would you rather beat, Texas Tech or whoever in Big 12 play or beat the Big 12 SEC team? He'll tell you the Big 12, no questions asked. So how important is this game against Florida coming up on Saturday in Manhattan?
How important is it? Not very. Kansas State doesn't. They don't need any more good wins to make the tournament or anything like that. They're pretty well locked into a top 4 seed at this point, unless they just totally collapse or something. So it's not like they need the statement kind of game against Florida. But I will say I have enjoyed the Big 12 SEC Challenge. I thought it's been pretty cool, especially because where they put it on the schedule. It gives those two leagues kind of a trump card over everybody else in college basketball this weekend. ESPN pays a lot of attention to it. It's a nice change of pace, something fun to watch. And I think, I'm going to have to disagree with Bill stuff. I think these teams, especially this season, as strong as the Big 12 is, they're kind of sick and tired of going up against each other. Could probably use a break and welcome playing another team that isn't just loaded and knows everything they do. The only real critique I would have at is just the matchups get a bit repetitive. I mean, like Kansas State in the series, they played Tennessee, it feels like 5 times, Ole Miss a bunch of times, Georgia a bunch of times. Like Florida this year was like, oh my gosh, finally somebody new. I wish they'd have done a better job of cycling teams around so you could get a taste for everything. And the other reason I like it is that the SEC, the advantage the Big 12 has on the SEC is that the bottom of the Big 12 is way better than the bottom of the SEC. Like if you put, I'm not sure who Texas Tech plays this weekend. I think maybe it's Ole Miss. Like you look at that matchup and you think, boy, well, yeah, Texas Tech should win that pretty handily. But the top of the Big 12 and the top of the SEC are both really good. Easy matchups like KU, K-State. KU, Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas. Too bad Alabama isn't playing somebody better than Oklahoma because, if it was Alabama Baylor or something, that'd be a great game. But I think that's fun to watch. We get to see, at the top of the conference, how those teams match up before we get to March.
All righty. Last two for the road. Can Jerome Tang's Q rating or Q score go any higher if K-State goes on the road and beats KU at the field house and gives KU back-to-back home losses? I'm not for sure. Fulton, maybe you can help me out here. Has Bill Self ever lost back-to-back home games at the field house?
I'd have to do some digging. I don't think so, but I think maybe there's something I'm missing. If it has happened, it has not happened more than probably once, if at all twice. Well, actually, no. There's no way it's happened more than once because this is only the third 3-game losing streak in Self's tenure. And I'm with strong confidence at least one of those was multiple road games.
Because that's what
I'll do some digging, but I'm pretty sure he's never lost back-to-back in the field house.
And that's why this could be absolutely incredible for Jerome Tang if they go on the road on Tuesday and beat KU on the 31st.
Yeah, it would give them their first win in Lawrence since Jim Woolridge's last season there in the early 2000s.
Yeah, with the good old neck
break.
break.
Their first. Yeah. It's really funny when you look back in time. The only time that K-State was able to win there was with that team and that coach. It's definitely not one of their better ones. And it would give. I don't even know the last time Kansas State swept the regular season against KU. You'll have to look that one up. That couldn't have happened in a long time either. So, yeah, I've seen people joke that, it's already time to build a Jerome Tang statue in Manhattan. They win that game, they might, I don't know, maybe they'll actually start raising money for it or something. But I think there's a decent chance it happens. Kansas State is playing good. Kansas is not. Kansas State has played in some tough road environments. I don't think they're going to be phased. The big thing I'm going to be looking for is that Kansas is going to have some time off here this week. You know they're going to come out with some new wrinkles, try out some new things against Kentucky, and they're going to, I think, hit K-State with a bunch of new stuff. Didn't show them in their first game. But I do think this will be a much closer game than we've seen historically in Lawrence.
Alrighty, last question I have for you. What seed in the tourney will the Cats get?
Oh, putting me on the spot there. I think, I don't think it'll be a 1 seed. Sorry, Cat fans, but they've won. They're 4-0 in overtime games this season. At some point, regression is going to hit. They're not going to win every single close game they play until the end of time. And maybe it started in yesterday. That's the first time they've lost a game in under 10 points all season. I think they'll fall back to the pack a little bit, but I still think they'll be good enough to be a 2 or 3 seed. So I'll be positive and say 2 seed, which would be their best seed since Jake and Fulton and Jenny Clemente were playing for Frank Martin.
Kellis, we appreciate the time as always, and enjoy the game against the Gators coming up on Saturday.
All right. Talk to you guys next week.
Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle, the Kansas City Star. Good stuff from Kellis. By the way, I have done the research.
Oh, boy.
The last time that K-State swept KU in the regular season, when do you think it was? They have won back-to-back games against KU.
But I'm assuming one of those was Big 12 tournament.
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to go back to the last time that K-State won back-to-back games. Now, K-State did win 2 of 3. They beat KU in 14 in Manhattan, lost in Lawrence, and then won in Manhattan. So they did win 2 of 3. Just to point that out. But if you want to go back-to-back, you got to go technically it wasn't the same season, but it was back-to-back. The tourney in 93 and then regular season in 94. They did go back-to-back then. And then they did go back-to-back in the same season. It was in Lawrence in 89 and then won in the tournament in 89, but they lost in Manhattan. The last time K-State swept KU, according to this at least, this is when actually K-State won 5 in a row. But the last time it happened was they won January 29th, 83 in Manhattan by 58-57. And then they won February 26th in 83 in Lawrence. 70-63. So the last time they won, at least according to this, at least one I can look at, is 1983. So
it's a long time ago.
Coming up to 40 years.
KU wins a lot of games. That's going to be the takeaway I'm going to put out here with this one. KU wins a lot of games.
Yeah, 83.
I have yet, and I just wanted to know, I'm back to the 2013-14 season. I've gone through every year of Bill Self prior to, so I've been there 10 Bill Self seasons here.
Honestly, you shouldn't go through like every year. Just look up their home record. Because, I mean, they probably haven't lost. How many times have they lost 2 games at home during Bill Self's career?
Well, that's also a good question.
You know what I'm saying?
Very
like,
small number.
Like they've gone undefeated at home, and then they've lost 1 game at home. And so if you just look at the home record,
I'm being hyper thorough over here. Probably don't need to be hyper thorough, but I'm being hyper thorough.
Do you see what I'm saying though?
No,
like,
I see your point.
Like, okay, they've lost 1 game at Allen Fieldhouse from 2022 to 2016. Okay, you don't have to check those because they can't lose back-to-back at that point in time. So I'm trying to think of when it was. But yeah, K-State's last time they won actually back-to-back games in this series was 93-94.
Nope. They have not lost. There's a season where they technically lost back-to-back home games, but one of the home games was a Kansas City game, which counts on the schedule, but isn't a home game.
That's not Allen Fieldhouse.
I agree. I agree. That's why I almost saw it. Then I remembered what the game was, and I caught myself.
Yeah,
I caught myself before I almost gave bad information.
Yeah. That was a home game on the schedule because season ticket holders got to do that, but it was in
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
It's when they lost to Washington and Arizona State back-to-back.
Arizona State. Was that the LeGerald Vick game?
Both of those were technically the LeGerald Vick game. The Arizona State should be better remembered as the Remy Martin game. Because Remy that was when KU fans were introduced to Remy. And did we not know how much our feelings about that young man would change by the end of his college career?
Yeah.
But no, that Washington game was when LeGerald Vick scored like 28.
Yeah.
And KU, no one else could score because Washington ran a 2-3 zone and LeGerald Vick just shot mid-range jumpers in the zone every possession. And it worked, except no one else could do anything. And KU couldn't play defense. Yeah. I will fact check this further. I can say with decently strong confidence, I don't know if KU's ever lost back-to-back games at Allen Fieldhouse under Bill Self. Because I'm to last season, and I haven't found evidence that says he has lost back-to-back home games in Allen. Like that is the important caveat, is in Allen Fieldhouse. When they lost to Washington, Arizona State back-to-back, that technically counts. But it was not back-to-back games inside of Allen Fieldhouse. I think KU has never, ever lost back-to-back games inside Allen under Bill Self. Which is a heck of a stat. And K-State gets shot at it.
I don't know when this was. It says here he has 292 wins, 16 losses all time at Allen Fieldhouse. Has as many league titles than his losses in the Fieldhouse. So
that's correct.
He's got 16 losses at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yes.
How many of those 16 were there any of them back to back? I would fancy a no.
I don't think so. By what I have dug through here, and I have just gone through the entire schedules, I can't find it. So unless there's something I'm somehow missing in the records, which I don't think I am, Bill Self has never lost back-to-back games inside Allen Fieldhouse. He has lost more than a few back-to-back road games, as I was evidenced by this season and other seasons. But he doesn't lose inside that building.
Yeah.
So K-State has a chance for double history.
Yeah.
One, which is they will sweep KU in a season series, which we're realizing has happened since the damn 80s.
83.
And they would hand Bill Self the first time he's ever lost back-to-back games inside that building.
A texter wants to point out on the Big O Tired text line, KU won 24 straight in Manhattan. Yes, we know that. That's not what we're debating here.
Yeah, they did.
Hey, newsflash. KU's basketball program is one of the greatest ever.
Are they still the? I'll have to ask Brendan. I don't know if KU still has the all-time wins leader.
Yes, because they got more wins than Kentucky.
I didn't know where the gap against Kentucky came, and I don't know if this 3-game losing streak caused a problem. I assume they still have it. I don't know where the gap is now. Because that gap is tiny.
What's Kentucky's record right now? 14-6 right now. What's KU's record?
16-4.
Obviously, it's increased. It's increased. Look at that. You're
I'm worried
distancing
about
themselves.
man.
But Kentucky can.
Yeah, they can shrink it on Saturday.
And shrink it on Saturday. And 4 in a row.
I don't care.
5 losses in a row, potentially.
I have to be brutally honest. I say I don't care if KU loses Kentucky on Saturday. I won't care in the grand scheme of things because it's not a conference loss, so it truly, really doesn't matter. I'm going to be brutally honest. If I have to come on this show on Monday and KU has lost 4 straight games, I'm going to need the Chiefs to have won the AFC title. They do that, I'm golden come Monday. I am great. If they both lose, Jake, I might not be here.
That's the emotional hedge.
I'm not going to be okay if they both lose this weekend. I can't lie.
I hope. What?
I won't be okay.
Hey, let's Oh, we can't do that. What if we parlay those puppies? What would be the odds of that happening?
Of both them losing?
Yeah.
I mean, we can technically figure that out.
No, you can't because there's no line out for Kentucky.
Oh, that's true. There's no line for Kentucky KU yet.
Yeah, there's not. You know,
because usually at that point you just would parlay Bengals money line and Kentucky money line, and you'd get the odds. But
that's
I don't know Kentucky's odds.
Real
yet.
Possibility, Fulton.
I don't want to think about it. I will not be okay. I need you to be aware that if that happens, I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be okay.
You need to understand that is not a non-zero, not even like 20, 30. That's probably
trust me, I know.
That's
trust
probably
me.
like a 40%
yes,
chance of that.
I understand where the odds sit with that. I need it to not happen.
All right.
I won't physically be okay.
Yeah, I know. We got to take a break. I don't even think we've taken a break yet this hour.
Probably not.
But coming up next, a little edition of You Did What? Time for a little edition of You Did What? Alrighty, Fulton, what do you got?
The person who did the You Did Whatting is not an athlete, but this involves a sports person being involved in the story. This is the positive end to it. Police have recovered Tony Francona's stolen scooter. Tony Francona has a little motorized scooter. He rides around a bunch of times. He's done it spring training a bunch of times. It's not like massively important, but it's kind of a weird thing. Came kind of connected with. Someone had stole Tony Francona's scooter. For what reason, I don't know. But Tony Francona has a scooter back.
All right. I feel like Tony Francona, just buy another scooter.
I mean, I don't disagree.
These things are not that expensive.
But yeah, last weekend outside of his apartment in Cleveland, just someone stole his scooter.
Tony Francona, apartment guy.
Yeah, according to this report.
All right.
Which is intriguing.
All right. You did what? Boy, howdy, golf hadn't had one of these little trysts in a while. So, Patrick Reid. You did
certified jerk.
You did what? Patrick Reid went to talk to Rory McIlroy on the range at a DP World Tour event, which is formerly the European Tour. And he walked over there, Patrick Reid did, and said hi to another player. And then Rory McIlroy, kind of very, very uniquely timed, went down and like looked at his bag or tied his shoes or something and didn't really want to talk to Patrick Reid. Reid wanted to say hello, didn't. They did not exchange pleasantries. So Reid turned around and kind of flipped the tee back at Rory McIlroy. Well, the you did what part, you're like, well, what's going on? Well, turns out Patrick Reid is suing Rory McIlroy, and Patrick Reid's attorney subpoenaed Rory McIlroy on Christmas Eve at 3:00 in the afternoon when he was at home with his family on Christmas Eve. And now Patrick Reid wants to bury the hatchet and reconcile with Rory.
Yeah, no.
Patrick, you got a couple screws loose, man. You ain't got both oars in the water. You're missing a couple cards in the deck. You ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. All I know is if you are going to sue me and you are going to do it on Christmas Eve at 3:00 in the afternoon, and then you've got the unmitigated gall to come up to me and be like, yo, bro, let's bury the hatchet. Rory is a much more calm and understanding and less confrontational than I would be if I was Rory McIlroy. McIlroy, and this is all on impressive. This is all on the record. Patrick came up and said hello, and I didn't really want him to.
I didn't want him to talk to me.
If roles were reversed, I would have thrown that T at him. I'd expecting him to file a lawsuit. Dang, I love Rory McIlroy, man. This guy is all of us. He is all of us. If you come up to, he had to answer his door on Christmas Eve to get subpoenaed over which is the most insane, ridiculous lawsuit, I'm assuming, because it involves Patrick Reid trying to sue other people, trying to sue Brandel Chambly, trying to sue Rory, trying to sue everybody for him doing whatever. I don't know. It's a complete laugh. It's going to get thrown out, just like all of his other suits. Whatever. Apparently, he's got a lawyer on retainer, and he's wasting money with that, obviously. But Patrick Reid, he did what, man? You actually thought that he'd be like, bro, man, it happens, man. No, if you stub someone's toe or you back into them with your car, you're like, can we just bury the hatchet? Nah, man.
Who are you backing into with your car?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
yeah, I know.
It's just,
I feel you.
You don't say you're sorry for filing a lawsuit on Christmas Eve, ruining family time.
Should have beat him with a 3-wood.
He should have, man. Oh, that tubby Patrick Reid that no one likes. If you want to call him an alleged cheater, go for it. What a putz. Because I'm living in reality. I don't know what he's living in. If I were in his shoes, I would expect a hello or a handshake. Fantastic. Coming up next, we're going to get to a little Chiefs-Bengals AFC title game. Video is out from practice. Have you seen the video, Fulton?
Yes. Because about the 80 Chiefs writers I follow all tweeted the exact same video.
Here's my take on it. You can't really get a good look at it because when Patrick Mahomes is not running, he does this kind of like T-Rex short arm where he just kind of,
he waddles.
Is it a waddle?
Yes. It's similar to the basketball player waddle.
Where you're just kind of like trotting,
Yeah. No, it's very similar to how every single basketball player in existence walks.
It's kind of like how a lot of people walk when they cross the street in front of a car and they try to show the car, hey, I'm actually going to put a little effort here and try to walk a little faster so you're not waiting on me.
Yeah.
When really you're not moving any faster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You're like, hey, look at me. I'm doing a lot, but
I'm engaging the hips.
But it's a little faster than a normal walk, but let's be real, not much.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he runs a little bit when not pushed. So I don't know how much you can take from it. Do you agree with me on that?
I agree. No, 100%.
Now, he did not look like he was limping.
Which is important.
When he did his little, shuffle, not a shuffle. I don't know if it's a waddle. A waddle is like more like a duck. To me, it doesn't look like he's waddling like a duck. But he never once deviated from the straight line, though.
Yeah.
Because he's doing the calisthenics. He looked good there.
Yeah.
And then he took off on his Patrick Mahomes run, but it's not really a run. But it was a direct line. I mean, we're talking 2 points, straight line, shortest distance, right?
Yeah.
And then he turned, but really wasn't a cut. And then he, jogged a little bit. So I don't know what you can gather from that because it's all about the back and forth. I urge you, if you want to, listen to the interview we had with Will Carroll. We had it in the 2:00 hour. It's fantastic about the ankle injury and what you can expect. It didn't look like one of them was super heavily taped. Both of them were spat up. So it didn't look like half of a box of athletic tape was on it.
Not like what's going to look like on Sunday.
I don't know if it will on Sunday.
I feel like they're going to put a whole box of athletic tape on that foot.
Injury report is not out yet.
Not yet.
Mahomes did win the Pro Football Writers Association NFL MVP honors.
That's one. That's not the one that's going to make me money, but that's one.
Justin Jefferson won Offensive Player of the Year from the writers.
Understandable.
Bosa won Defensive Player of the Year.
That's unfortunate.
What? Why is that unfortunate?
Because that probably means Chris Jones is not winning the AP.
Oh, yes.
First part of the year.
Yeah.
These are a good early indication of who's going to win what awards at NFL honors on February 9th.
I think all those three are correct, though.
No, I agree.
I have no argument.
No, I have no disagreements with even Nick Bosa winning Defensive Player of the Year from the Pro Football Writers America. He had a great year. I'm not going to fight that. I just would like it to be Chris.
He is one of the finalists, though.
No, he is, which is great. No, that alone is awesome. He's one of the three. He's up there with Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa. If he doesn't win it, it's okay. I would like him to win it, but I'm not going to say he's more deserving than the other two. I think the position he does it from makes it more impressive. But I think he's up with some very deserving candidates. It's not like me being kind of up in arms if Patrick didn't win MVP. That I'd get a little up in arms about. Or honestly, if Justin Jefferson wouldn't win Offensive Player of the Year, I'd get a little up in arms about that.
Yeah, I can see that.
But Defensive Player of the Year, I'm fine with any of the three. They're all deserving.
Mm-hmm. Coming up next, we will get to our mic drop. Time for the mic drop here on Mic'd Up. What do you got?
Still several days till this becomes a reality, but I've just been confronted with the fact today that if both the Chiefs and KU lose this weekend, I'm not going to be physically okay next week. We got a lot more time to process that, but
here we go. I'm
not going to be okay.
For real. This is a legit way for you to feel better.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
You're not going to like this.
Okay.
But it's the best way overall to feel better.
What's that?
All right. I'm going to need you to emotional hedge and bet on Kentucky and bet on the Bengals.
I think I might.
Because if that occurs, then you will be happy financially.
That's true. I honestly might need you to the emotional hedge this weekend because if they both lose, I'm not going to be okay. The emotional hedge might need to come out.
Patrick Mahomes' ankle is not a normal ankle, and that is a great thing. Some people do heal faster, and he is one of them. Coming up next, we got 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon.